Welcome to the Professor's Corner, the podcast for parents and community leaders who understand that education begins at home. I believe parents shouldn't rely solely on the school system to educate their children. It's time to take the lead. Welcome to the Professor's Corner, a space dedicated to amplifying voices and highlighting the transformation power of education, especially the role of our youth shaping it around the world. Today, we are diving into a topic on teen health, with the focus on how young women are navigating the challenges of period poverty and menstrual pain. I am your host, Selena Ross. I am thrilled to be joined by a very special guest, Lei'Lani Jackson.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm really honored to be here. I am currently working on my Girl Scout Go to War project, which is, the highest achievement in Girl Scouts that's only given to those that's in 9th through 12th, so pretty much throughout high school.
Awesome.
It recognizes girls, who demonstrate a lot of leadership, a lot of independence. It creates a, lasting and positive impact, in communities through individual projects, that go beyond, Girl Scouts. So it's not even just about Girl Scouts. It's about, being who you are and still expressing that.
Okay. Let me ask you a quick question. Now, how long have you been in Girl Scouts and what made you become a member of the Girl Scout team?
Okay. To be honest, I have been a Girl Scout for as long as I can remember. It honestly feels like all a dream, to be honest.
Okay.
But I have been in Girl Scouts for 8 years.
Okay.
And what made me be a part of Girl Scouts, well, it all started mainly like in elementary when the whole Girl Scouts thing started. My schools always used to host a lot of Boy Scout events, and they always used to say things like, girls can't do this.
Yes.
Girls, can't do that.
Yes.
And I was just tired of hearing the can't word that was always targeted against, women and girls in general. So I was like, I want to be a part of like an organization or a group that is like beyond what some of, like these boys think that I guess they're doing. So my mother ended up putting me into Girl Scouts when I, expressed this feeling to her. And right then and there, due to my age, I was not able to be a daisy, but I was a bit older. So I started off as a brownie and I went for it. And now I'm a Juliet now. So, Girl Scouts is, sorry.
That's fine. That's okay.
But Girl Scouts is, a really big organization. And those that are still young, still trying to even find their selves and still trying to find their identity, I would definitely recommend joining Girl Scouts if you're trying to find, like that friendship, that circle you need, and trying to find new opportunities for yourself. So.
Okay. Now, one thing that hit me in my spirit is that you stated that you're advocating for young ladies such as yourself.
Yes.
And as being a mature adult. But remember it being a time when I had to have the same conversation with my mother about certain things I felt that was unfair that young ladies was not able to considered not able to do. We've come a long way, but we're still fighting, and I'm glad that you're a part of the fight. I am so thankful for you. I also hear, Lei'Lani, that you're becoming a junior at Southwest DeKalb High School.
Yes, I am, class of 2027. I am so excited, but at the same time, I'm a little sad because now I'm realizing my high school days are almost over, but I just know that while I am still in school and still young, my parents have always taught me to make a lasting impact every single time, every single day. So I'm glad that every single day God wakes me up into reality.
Let's talk.
And, he pretty much tells me, like, yes, you may not enjoy certain things. Yes, you may get upset along the way. However, God always makes a way for everybody. So I am blessed to, have such a special gift, especially me being a 16-year-old about to be a junior also a varsity cheerleader and golfer at Southwest that has ADHD as well. So, I feel like what God has given me is very special.
Yes. And yes, it is. As a Gold Award recipient, supporting young women's health, being recognized as a leader and service in your community, I have no doubt that beyond high school, we will still hear and see Lei'Lani Jackson in many capacities that will be advocating for our young ladies. So today on our show, as we discuss through your work and experience in empowering teens to make informed decisions about their health and well-being, I must ask, how does period poverty affect our teens, not just physically, emotionally, but socially? How is this affecting our young ladies?
Okay. So, well, for one, period poverty, it's kind of like not really having access to certain things in terms of like your menstrual and like pretty much just your period in
Right.
general. How this affects mainly our Black teen girls, how this mainly affects teen girls in general. It affects not only like physically on the inside, but it also affects like our mental health. For those of you that do not know, I have a menstrual disorder called dysmenorrhea, and it causes for me to have severe vomiting to the point where I'm like having to vomit 7 to 8 times a day.
I'm so sorry.
And if I do not take what my doctor prescribed for me, which is a cocktail, it's like I have to take a lot of medicine days before. And I mean, I hate doing it because I almost feel like I'm pretty much almost drugging myself just to keep myself up. But like it really does affect our mental health. Someone that I spoke to recently, she suffers from PMDD, and it's another menstrual disorder, except this affects our emotions. She shared with me that with hers is so severe to the point where it can cause you to be in a really bad depressive state, to the point where girls that have this, they almost want to almost literally kill themselves. Some people feel like they're actually, dying. So when she said this, I knew I had to act fast with my issue, and I'm so, glad I chose this as a topic, especially because, it's personal to me, but there's some other people out here that are suffering, and as a person that's also suffering as well, I feel like I need to make a statement about this.
Yes, you do. As a parent that was pulled into the educational system, I've seen young ladies where she had to have a heating pad, and the teacher keeps it in the classroom like we keep our supplies. And I found that interesting, that a lot of dynamics for our young ladies are changing as the years go on. So I thank you so much for bringing this to light. Have you or someone well, I'm sure you probably had to miss school, you probably had to miss social activities because of the, as you would say, disorder that you're having. So what would you wish for parents to know, as well as what we can do to support? Because we may not understand. I know my experiences, and as a young lady, they told me I had fibroids. That was at 19, and they said that this would affect you as you got older. Well, yes, it did. But to see that you're being affected at an age be younger than that, touches my heart. So when I ask you, what is it like to have to miss school, to miss the activities, to miss out on having time because you at home at such a young age dealing with such a serious issue?
So to be honest, it's very sad and it's a struggle, because to be honest, there's some times that I would actually come on my cycle at school, and I'm so glad that my mom, she taught me some things, beforehand. She was like, always, like wear a pad or at least like a panty liner or something just in case anything happens.
Yes.
And when she said that, I never took it for granted, because I know a few friends of mine have had a few incidents where they have, even come to me asking, do I have a tampon or a pad? And I wouldn't have anything, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd feel, so bad because I'm like you're suffering, and then on top of that with me, I feel like it's kind of worse, but it's really really sad because as someone that is on the varsity cheer team and also does golf,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm having to miss football games, I'm having to miss my matches and things to the point
Mm-hmm.
where like I'm so sick to the point where it's like I feel like I can't get up, and I would need like someone to help me. I had an incident not too long ago. I forgot to take my medicine once,
Which
and
can
I did
happen.
not count my days, so I
We're not
couldn't know.
perfect, right?
And I remember waking up having like this cold kind of feeling, and like when you're cold, like you start to shiver. I felt like, okay, maybe I'm just cold, so I knew I had to get up, get in the shower, and get ready for school. But when I came out of the shower, I noticed that my body was shaking. I
Okay.
almost felt like I did not know whether or not I was going to pass out,
Mm-hmm.
or like something was going on with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going downstairs, and thank God my parents were awake.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm not feeling too well. Like I was holding my stomach, and I was very weak to the point where I literally fell to my knees and
Right.
vomited on the floor. And
Wow.
I felt like I really felt weak in
Mm-hmm.
that moment, to the point where my parents were like, mm-mm, like you need to stay home,
And right.
because my mom saw that my whole body
It was just
was
shaking.
shaking. Like it was really really bad. It's a struggle to even have to deal with life like this, knowing that I got diagnosed with dysmenorrhea, and now it's like, okay, is this going to be my life? Am I going to struggle
With
throughout
this,
like
right.
my adult years? Like, what is this going to look like in my 20s? Like,
Exactly.
what's going to happen? Is this going to get worse for me to the point where I'm going to have to be taken to a hospital?
Right.
Sometimes like that even scares me too.
Understood.
So it hits, of course, physically because of, the cycle, but it also hits emotionally to the point where there are times I cry in my bed
Understood.
because I feel
Yes.
so insecure about it.
Now let me ask this question here. There or have you been in contact with other teens like yourself who may have this disorder, or you creating this platform is bringing other teens to you?
Yes. So when I told some of my friends, what I was doing about my goal to war, I told them pretty much what I was focusing on. I said, I'm bringing awareness to, period poverty and period disorders. I said, because I'm tired of us girls feeling like people are having to pretty much shut us up and telling us like we have to deal with this, we have to be strong, you have to go through the pain. And when I mentioned this, they were like, okay, like that's a good topic, but what do you have to do that relates to this? That's when I told them I have dysmenorrhea.
Mm-hmm.
When they ended up looking it up, they realized they're not the only one that's struggling, pretty
Ah,
much.
awesome, awesome.
So they came up to me and were like, hey, after what you said, that really touched. They, even told me like some of them had PCOS, and some of them were struggling as well, to the point where like we even talk about things like this. So they're still trying to even help around the school to make periods even known, because like at my school, I know a lot of things, of course, go on, but I'm tired of people trying to treat periods like they're gross. No, it's just mental health that goes on in a female's body. And I personally feel like men and young men, they need to be a part of this situation as well, so they
Understanding.
could know
Yes.
what's going on with your sister, what's going on with your partner, like
Yes.
teachers,
Yes.
pretty much anything,
Yes.
so y'all can be mentally prepared. You may not be dealing with this physically like we are, but you should at least know some of us are
Yes.
out here really like struggling.
Right. Yes. Oh, I'm so proud of you. I'm just honored and truly so proud of you. Now, let me ask you this question. What is the school? Because I know I've seen schools collect sanitary products for young ladies to have on hand. Do your school advocate for, how's they supplying the school so that in case the young ladies have a disruption?
Okay, that's actually a really really good question because we are at the moment from my perspective, it's not as great in terms of products and things that we need.
Mm-hmm.
So my sophomore year, the beginning of the year, they did a beautification around the school.
Mm-hmm.
All sports teams, including my cheer team, we came out and we beautified the school. Um, I saw that the bathrooms, of course, were decorated and everything, and they had like this tray
Mm-hmm.
that was sitting on the counter of our sink, and it was full of like lotion, tampons, pads, cleansing cloths,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much things that we need for personal
Yes.
hygiene.
Yes.
So at first I really felt like, okay, we're getting somewhere. We're
Mm-hmm.
finally being respected for what we really need, because I'm just gonna say this. I know my nurse is tired of us going up there and asking, and of us asking her, "Do you have a pad? Do you have a
Yes.
tampon?" However, she understands the struggle because she's a woman too.
Right.
But when I saw those trays, I was like, okay, we were getting somewhere, and I happened to see them in every single girl's restroom.
Mm-hmm.
How it then started to become a problem, they were not restocking things.
Okay.
They were not
Mm-hmm.
restocking anything. It was like you would see at least like 30 something pads and tampons in one tray for like every single girl that comes into the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
They would be gone in like less than
And
a
I'm
week.
mm-hmm. I
Now
can
the
imagine.
janitors, of course their job is to restock things and everything, and from what I was told, they're all supposed to restock the trays as
Right.
well. However, none of them did not restock anything, to the point where I was like, okay, I thought we were getting somewhere, but now
There's
it's
still
like it is
mm-hmm. There's still some type of situation that's underlying going
right.
on that's preventing that from being happen. So we can't necessarily say it's the janitors. Maybe it's the supplies. So as the schools have to continue
Mm-hmm.
to advocate for people in the community to help us restock.
Right.
Okay. So do you feel there's a stigma, which I think you do, around women's monthly blessings, as we call them, to the point that they really want you to silence because they may feel that you're making it harder for teens because it's supposed to be a secret?
Yes, I do feel like, people are trying to shut us up about, our periods. I think because, of course, almost everybody in the world thinks periods are gross, except for, women that are actually dealing with stuff like this,
Mm-hmm.
and, teen girls. And, with that question, that just like reminds me of why I even started doing this in the first place.
Awesome.
I'm not only bringing awareness to what we're, dealing with, but I'm also telling people, you can't tell me what to
That's right.
think about my period, because I'm going through this, but you're not. But I suggest you listen, because some things, may come up, like later on in years. And, I'm not even just targeting just teen girls. I'm even targeting, little girls that don't even have, their periods yet. Like, I know we all remember the time when we first came on
Mm-hmm.
our period, and I remember my story, and boy did I hate it, because I was hurting.
Yes.
But, I want to, put something out there for these girls so they can know, like, you're not the only one that's, suffering and struggling through this.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, nobody can tell you can't speak on it, because
Right.
I mean,
Awesome.
it's mental health.
It is.
It's mental health.
It is.
Like, why would we not talk about health? That's like a big priority, in the human body. You need to make sure your body is operating the way it
Mm-hmm.
needs to.
Okay, let me ask this question. What are the small changes that you feel that a young person, young lady can do just to kind of help herself who's dealing with period property? What can she do? What's the small changes? I know as parents, we tell them, you need to have this on hand, keep this in your purse. Is there anything that they can do, like eating wise, or maybe they need to rest a certain amount of time, or maybe they need to have these type of devices to help?
Um, so what I would, suggest to those that, don't really know where they're at, I guess,
Right.
trying to still figure out like how do I pretty much like control this at my own pace still.
Yes.
While, that is good that parents are, like suggesting like, like keep, this amount of tampons and pads on hand. While that is good, I would suggest to actually stay away from sugar.
Awesome.
I would actually suggest to stay away from
Are
sugar.
you listening, audience? Sugar. Awesome. Okay.
Yes, I would actually suggest to actually stay away from sugar or anything caffeinated.
I can believe that.
Now, sugar, of course, helps emotionally. But does it help with your cycle? No. It, to be honest, makes it worse. I still remember the times I would come on my period and I would eat ice cream, and I would say my cramps would get worse. The more I ate sugar, the worse I was feeling, the more headaches I was getting, the more it was like, of course, like it ended, on time. But at the same time, like you don't want that bad feeling. So I would suggest staying away from sugar and staying away from anything caffeinated.
Okay.
I would also suggest, of course, getting your, usual 8 hours of sleep, of course. That's the amount of, time that, just the human body, period, needs, for sleep. Now, of course, we all have, like days and we all have schedules and things, of course. But I would suggest go to sleep early. Start going to sleep a little bit early so you can get at least an extra hour of sleep so you can,
body,
wake up, refreshed and everything. And also drink a lot of water as well.
Okay.
Drink a lot of, H2O. Now, something that I do that I feel like would help as well. I like to work out.
Okay.
I really like to work out. I would suggest, since, being like on your period, you don't want to do way too much movement. But however, when you are active, for some reason, it's like your cramps kind of want to shut down and be like, okay, let's calm down because she's moving, she's getting active. So I would definitely suggest doing things like Pilates, maybe.
Awesome.
Maybe, like doing some yoga, something that is actually very calming other than, like running or, like walking around the neighborhood.
Okay.
So I would definitely suggest that. So stay away from sugar, stay away from things that are caffeinated, drink a lot of water, keep products and materials, on hand, and, get some, exercise. So I would definitely suggest that.
I like that. I like the suggestion of, the light workout. That is something we're so focused on, running and, volleyball.
Trying
and
to
so
make sure we're fit.
Right, making sure you're fit. So when you said light and you use yoga and Pilates, I'm a big yoga fan at least once a week, just to stretch the body, just so you can continue to move. So I really want to thank you for that. Now, you're creating a program. Yes. Please tell me just a little bit about your program. If you haven't already covered it, go ahead.
So far I've created like these pamphlets. Didn't bring one with
That's
me
okay.
today,
That's okay. You can send us
I've
one.
so far created like these pamphlets
Okay.
that I will pretty much be trying to get into schools a lot,
Awesome.
mainly
Okay.
in this area. And if my project really does go far, hopefully
It
I
will.
can go globally to
It
the point
will.
where this is pretty much just everywhere. So I've created like these pamphlets that will go inside of free period and pad machines that I want to get made for schools as well.
Okay.
And I kind of had a system where, like, with the pamphlets, it will also come with, of course, that product.
Okay.
You open
Awesome.
the pamphlet, and it has pretty much, my story
Awesome.
of, what I've been going through, what you can do if you feel like you're going through this, who you can contact, like your doctors, or like if you really, really want to see like a specialist for this, I would like include pretty much just a lot of information that you need to know pretty much. So, like I just want to help out pretty much.
Okay. Now, when I see a young lady such as yourself, the phenomenal way you speak, the way you're advocating for other teens, just how you're putting forth this project, I also know that there's parents behind you. That's the first thing I say. Who are her parents?
Okay.
So can you please, I know they're in the audience,
yes.
Introduce your parents, and just, give them a little love.
Yeah, so I have my mom, Miss Demita Jackson, and my father, Mr. Larry Jackson Jr. They are my biggest supporters with pretty much my whole entire life.
Yes.
I would say I can't even name one thing they haven't done for me just to help me accomplish my dreams, because when I told myself that when I leave high school, of course I want to go straight to college.
Okay.
That's in my legacy, okay? Because my parents have a lot of degrees, and I'm trying to beat them at their record.
Okay.
They have 3. I'm trying to get 6.
Okay, awesome.
But,
you already have one. Go ahead.
But I am trying to be an influencer and fashion designer, and I know, influencing comes with, being in, the media. So when, they told me about, this opportunity for my project, I was ecstatic. I was like, someone actually reached out to me and was like, hey, we want to speak to you. So, I felt like while there are, other supporters like, Atlanta Glow, Dr., Zuri Hemphill Bryant, who's my advisor, Miss Teresha Freckleton, who is my Gold Award coach, Top Ladies of Distinction, and of course, Girl Scouts of Atlanta. They're my biggest supporters, but I know my main supporters are my parents, and I feel like without them, I couldn't have been here today or done anything that, I would have, done. I feel like they really push me to strive for things. Yes, they may have me do certain things, of course, that I may not want to do, but they know that at the end of the day, it's going to pay off. And I just want to say, Mom, Dad, I love you.
That's
I
parenting.
love y'all. We may have, some times where we may disagree. That's normal between children and their parents. But the things that y'all do is what helps me be me. And y'all help me with that every single day. And if I happen to, become a mother or, happen to raise a child in the future, I'm going to tell them the same thing. I'll always follow your dreams, but sometimes your parents have to help you out with that too.
Right. They have to create that foundation, and you can see that they're doing an awesome job. Now, is there any sponsors that you have that you may wanted to say, give a thanks to, or did you already include them You already include them? Okay. Well, I have just one more question. I know some people think that period poverty is just about access to pads or tampons, but I always want to say it's about dignity. It's about being educated. It's about understanding your health. In your opinion, what is the most misunderstood part of this issue?
I would say the most misunderstood part of the issue, of course, like you said, how when people think of period poverty, they just straight up think, oh, pads, tampons, cleansing cloths and stuff. I think the most misunderstood part is the fact that we aren't thinking deeper into this. We're not. Because I would say this, I came from that too. When I thought of period poverty, I thought of the same thing. However, when you really, really, really look into an issue, you're going to realize it's bigger than all of us. Yes. It really is. So that's why, today I mentioned that period poverty is not just about the lack of products that we get. Because, personally, we need to get these products for free like y'all do with toilet tissue at these schools.
Yes.
So I feel like, we're not really like looking, into this. It has everything to do, with mental health. It has everything to do with our emotions,
Mm-hmm.
what's really going on the inside of the body, not just how we act. Because as soon as people hear the word period, they just think of, oh, you have mood swings, or you're
Yes.
cramping, oh,
Yes.
don't leak and stuff, and it's
Yes.
like, no, it's not even that with, period poverty. It's a lot of things that
Mm-hmm.
we can't even, really name, because some of us are insecure to, even, say things, like that. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just glad that I'm here today to, make a statement, because I'm tired of us girls having to suffer, and people are having to tell us, to shut up about it, and, go through the pain. No woman should be
Mm-hmm.
suffering.
And exactly. And to just deal with it. And this is just who you are. So, like I said, as a young lady, and on one side of my family, I was the only girl and the baby. So they know when they're, you know, all of a sudden you got a problem. Or
Right.
this is what's going on. But you couldn't
Oh, you're
control how you felt.
overreacting and stuff, and
You
it's like,
couldn't help it. It would
no, I
just
can't help
it
it.
would just blow up. I didn't mean to, and I would feel better.
Yeah.
But that's just a part of the misunderstood issue
Yep.
of what I call the monthly blessing, to keep away from the stigma of it's a problem, or is this, it's a blessing that we're it's like a flower that we're blooming
trying to
into
grow,
to
right.
improve on. Right.
It's a part of, just being a woman, period.
Yes.
Because, I mean, we all want to go back to those days where periods weren't here.
Right.
I mean, we were all just, we were just free.
Yes.
And then, God was like, oh, you're a woman now. And then
Yeah.
it's like, you just had to, just kind of had to ruin the moment. But we know that regardless or not, having a period, yes, it may be painful physically, but that's still a gift, because it's kind of like his way of saying, like, you're making it through adulthood, or you're becoming who you're going to be, who you
Birthing
want
you
to
into
be.
another person.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And to conclude, but I have a brief story to tell. I recall a young lady in the classroom. This was third grade. So the time that our young ladies start their monthly blessing can vary. And we had one who started in the third grade. When I say shut the classroom down, all we teach our young ladies, so the girls knew, but to actually have someone have it, they just thought, oh my goodness, it's and I had to tell them this is a natural product, but they were so distraught that it happened to her, because that meant I'm next. I just
Right.
may not be the next one, but it's coming.
And then it's like,
it took them
it's like
emotional.
now we all have someone to pretty much look at, and
Yes.
then that's when the talking starts. And,
Exactly.
all of that. Now I'm just lucky I came on mine at home, because I know I would have kind of been the same way.
Yes.
But I started back when I was in 6th grade. That's when
No,
I started.
That was good. That was
So
a blessing.
I'm so glad that I started at home, because I feel like I probably really would have been complaining. I'd have been like, why does this have to happen to me?
Right.
Like, I'm suffering. What did I
Right.
do?
Right.
That's actually the first question I actually asked God. I said, what did I do to deserve this? But then I realized this is just a part of growing up and getting older. And I mean, look at me now. I'm 16, about to be a junior in high school. So
and you persevered.
it's crazy
Yes.
how years really went by.
And you
The one
persevered.
thing my mom does say is that time goes by fast, and I still remember walking into those doors of my school as a freshman, and now people are saying, yeah, you guys are gonna have a half cap too. You guys are about to be juniors. And I was just so lost, because I'm like,
Right.
I still feel like
Right.
I still feel new here. What's happening?
So now you're no longer new. You're the one leading.
Right.
You are leading.
upperclassmen.
Yes.
You're leading.
And you're
showing
doing an awesome
example.
job. Do they allow you to mentor other young ladies, kind of like who come in the 9th grade, partner with you to kind of help them, navigate to the school? Are you doing that?
I really would like to, actually. I'm not doing it currently, but
Understood.
I would really like to, talk to 9th grade girls, pretty much just about what high school life is, like
You should,
while I
yes.
am, like on social media, doing like fun TikToks and stuff, I actually recently made, of course, like an advice video for, class of 2028 and 2029 in general.
Awesome. I
So I
love it.
won't just target just
Yes.
girls or just boys. I'm targeting anyone that's within that circle because
Yes.
I have a couple of friends of mine that were freshmen last year, and they wanted to know, of course, what sophomore year was like for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, me being, dramatic, I kind of told them some stuff, but, I really would like to,
You were
mentor
being
younger
honest.
kids. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
was being honest and telling them this high school is not a joke.
Right.
So,
School, yeah. School, it's not. It's not. So you were helping them prepare for the obstacles they may face, how they're going to get past them, because that is high school, the dynamics
right.
of some high schools. Yes.
Because, like, what I call high school, I don't even, like, call it, like, just school. I call it a school where they teach you how to be an adult.
Yeah.
I call it that because, freshman year.
Parents, Mr. and Mrs. Jackson. What can I say? Go ahead, sweetie.
Because, my freshman year, I really, really saw, of course, a lot of changes in how teachers were treating me. It was like in middle school, they were treating you a little bit like adults, of course.
Mm-hmm. Preparing
But
you.
once my freshman year came around, I noticed how these teachers really did not care, one bit at first. But that's why you build relationships with people.
And you
Of
a breath
course,
of fresh air. So I know eventually they gravitated to you like, oh, this one here.
it's gonna be my mini me.
Yes, this
want her
one's
in my
different.
class.
Yes.
But yes, I realized, my freshman year, they were really going to start, treating you like an adult and
Yeah,
everything.
they do.
So,
They do.
because
Okay.
like my assistant principal for, my grade, he was like, as soon as you enter Southwest DeKalb High School your freshman year, that's when the adulting starts. Like,
Yes.
that's when getting treated like you're an adult starts. So
Yes. Okay, well, as
learned
we
a lot.
conclude here, I'm going to say what I always say. My call to action is do not solely depend on American public school system to educate your child. And I can tell by yourself that Mr. and Mrs. Jackson did just that. They put their time and energy to it. They had an educational plan at home, which I always recommend to parents. And you are a product of what our educational system needs. I thank you so very much for coming onto our show. I want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Mr. Toya, the owner of Creative Designs Innovations. She's an interior designer, is currently working on some spaces for me and has been so efficient helping me with my schedule and making sure my home is being transferred from, because I had sons, the boys' cave, now to more of the flower, the hosta that's inside of me, and I
My
get to see,
house.
yeah,
My
like
house.
getting my house
Really my
back. Now that they're going on, so I really want to thank her. She can be found at www.creativedesigninnovations.com. Alrighty, thank you very much.
Terradome Entertainment. We turn your fear of dreaming into amazing realities. If your dream is to become a photographer, we have a nice intimate photo studio just for you. If you want to record that next hit song or do voiceover work, we have a state-of-the-art studio also for you. If you want to professionally record your own podcast, well, we have that too. Check us out at www.terradomeentertainment.com. We are the only ones to turn your fear of dreaming into amazing realities.